presentation winner.
Hello. When Buck called about a month ago and said Dad was going to be the master artist, I was happy and surprised. And then he called back a couple weeks ago and said, well, we want you to present and talk. Well, then I got scared to death. So it's kind of hard to sum up 43 years of music in a 5 or 10 minute conversation. So I got a few things written down here I'd like to read about Dad. One Saturday morning, 43 years ago, my dad heard Tommy Gerald playing on WPAQ's merry-go-round for Tommy's birthday. And his life has not been the same since. The sound of Tommy's fiddle caught Dad's ear. He told his cousin who he was with at the time he thought he could do that. So his cousin kind of took him up on it and said, well, I have a fiddle at home. Had 3 strings on it. So he got it, gave it to Dad, and by the next weekend, Dad learned to play a couple hymns. So his cousin said, well, you're going to learn to play, so he took it and put a 4th string on it, which was a guitar string. Shortly after, Dad began going to Tommy's to learn all he could. The first thing Tommy done was run the D string up to an A, so Dad had to relearn everything he already knew. I believe these trips to Tommy's taught Dad to play in a way in which he uses to help others learn to play today, to sit down and play. Dad would rather sit down and play than eat when he's hungry. I've seen him sit at a fiddler's convention for a solid 6 hours and not dare get up because new people were coming up and sitting down to jam. Dad immersed himself with the fiddle and learning these tunes. He was around multiple musicians and learned tunes from Tommy, Ernest East, Benton Flippin, Walter Morris, Melvin Sladen, the Sheelers, the Taylors, and the Kimballs, just to name a few. His first recordable band experience was in the late 70s when he began playing with the Pine River Boys in Maybelle, which was Jake Lewis, A. Porton, and Maybelle Harris. In 1978, they recorded an album, Wild Hog in the Woods, which featured a 25-year-old Dad. Just a little note on the album cover. Dad's hair was black, his beard was black, his pants were a little too short, and he had white socks and moccasins on. The highlight of the album that I still make fun of today. Throughout the last 43 years, Dad has been able to take his music to some great places. In the summer of 1982, the Pine River Boys in Maybelle, along with other bands in this area, got to perform at the World's Fair in Knoxville, Tennessee. This would be the first of many experiences and opportunities, but others would have to wait till later. When the band returned home from the World's Fair, he got out of the car and told him he was quitting. He wasn't playing anymore. I had just been born a few months before, so I guess I was too cute for him to leave home. People come to this area for the music. Around 1984, Ray Chatfield, who moved here for the music, had been going to Tommy's. Tommy suggested Ray to look up Dad for some tunes. It had been 18 months since Dad had played. This suggestion by Tommy is what formed the Slate Mountain Ramblers. The first edition was Dad on the fiddle, Ray Chatfield on the banjo, Dan Williams on guitar, and Buck Stockton on bass. Through the late 80s, the Slate Mountain Ramblers were a force at all the fiddlers' conventions. The forceful edition included Bill Mansfield on the banjo and the late Barbara Poole on bass. In the early 90s, Dad not only continued to front his own band on fiddle, he also helped 2 famous bands in the area. He was the banjo player for Benton Flippin and the Smoky Valley Boys, and Ernest East and the Pine Ridge Boys and Patsy at the same time, using Benton's famous Kalamazoo banjo. In 1991, the band took a pivotal step and changed the dynamic. It became a family band. Mom and I joined the band, Mom on bass and myself on mandolin. Since then, we have had great players and most of all, great friends help round out the band. Some of those included Paul Sutphin, Max Snow, Dale Fane, Keith and Bon Jolly, Randy Hyatt, Johnny Joyce, and the late Clyde Johnson. We also enlisted some banjo players while I was in college, Michael Motley, Seth Boyd, and Adam Bashirs. Also in the 90s, Dad was very instrumental in the band that launched what people now call the Round Peak Sound, the Round Peak Band. This band consisted of Dad on the fiddle, Mac Snow and Scotty East on the guitars, Patsy East on bass, and Ray Alden from New York on banjo. Ray, like so many others, came to this area for the music. The Round Peak Band has a cassette to their credits, as well as performances at Brandywine Festival in Maryland and the Hudson Valley Music Festival in New York. Just a little note on that trip to New York, it was before seatbelts were enforced. There was 12 people in a van, and 3 of the kids laid in the floor all the way, and we'd get Fanny East to sing Brown's Fairy Blues because it had a dirty word in it. The kids kind of liked that. In the 32 years of the band's existence, Dad missed one show, and the band has canceled one show. In the early 90s, Dad had back surgery. He wouldn't cancel. He called Benton Flippin himself to get him to play in his place. So for one show, Benton was a Slate Mountain Rambler. In 2007, tragedy struck when our guitar player for the previous 8 years, Mr. Clyde Johnson, passed away unexpectedly on a Friday. We were to play the next day at Rockford, and we canceled. We couldn't do it without Clyde. And the next scheduled show, we played without a guitar player. Dad has taken his fiddle and the music to many places. We have played on 3 cruises, Austria at the Austrian Alps Performing Arts Festival, Gainsborough, England for Friends of the Old Time Music, and many places in the U.S., including last year's Swananoa Gathering in Asheville. Dad has influenced many people through his music. People have come to our house for years just to play with a tune with Dad. Some come for a short time, some have practically lived there for 2 years. Most greatly appreciative of his time and willingness to play with anyone, some have not been so thankful. Dad has always been willing to play and show anyone anything he could. He's never tried to hide his music from anyone. He will show you tunes and tell you what he thinks. He's not bashful about that at all. If he thinks it, he says it. As much as Dad loves to play, he loves to fix up and sell his fiddles. His fiddle box, which is an old cardboard shoebox all taped up, and his bow holder, which is Pringle cans with the ends cut off, taped together, are his prized possessions at all festivals and conventions that he attends. He loves for people to come up and look at his fiddles and talk. He also is an instrument luthier. He has 15 fiddles, 5 banjos, and a bass to his credit. Whether people come to jam with Dad or look at his fiddles or stop for him to make a quick fiddle repair, he has become a mainstay and someone everyone looks for when they come to this area. In the last few years, he's become very instrumental in events for the Surry Arts Council through dances, workshops, and he continues to preserve and pass this music on to others. He does this in the same way that he learned to play, just like going to Tommy's. Dad will sit and play until everyone gets it. He never wanted to copy anyone and never wants anyone to copy him. He wants people to learn to play the tunes and play like themselves. For this one thing, I will forever be grateful. Dad's always said, play like yourself and be recognizable. I was never left behind, never forced to learn, and never forced to play, but most importantly, always included. Like all kids learning and adults wanting to jam, or look at a fiddle in his famous fiddle box, they just want to be included, and he always loves that. For the last 43 years, his passion has not changed. From starting out going to Tommy's to Fiddler's conventions, workshops, to his favorite Monday night jams at B&B Produce, and to this year marking 25 years as a family band. My dad loves the music, loves meeting new people interested in the music, loves singing and having a tune with old friends, and loves to play for dancers. This is his life. The life he made with my mom and influenced me and others and continues to influence others on a daily basis. Sometimes he may get a little lazy, not play so fast as he used to. He forgets what he's going to play, or he just flat out plays the wrong tune. He'd done that just the other week, by the way. But he said the other day he was going to play until he couldn't remember the songs anymore. So please help me in welcoming this year's master artist, my daddy, Mr. Richard Bowman.
Richard, we're really happy to present this award to you tonight. I can't tell you anybody who deserves getting an award this year, but appreciate you so much. It's a class award that's associated with it. And we'd like for the band to come back up and play another tune for us if you don't mind, or a couple of tunes, and just entertain us a little bit, and we appreciate you very much. Okay.
Thanks to all the friends that's followed us the whole time we've been playing. So this right here don't choke you, I don't guess nothing will. Thank y'all. And all I can say, I guess, is thank you. Marsha's done give a life history of myself and, and our music, so thank everyone.